This is Georgia, not the state, but the country. Yes, there is a country, Georgia, and it's located just on the other side of the planet from the state with the same name. If you want to know more basic information about it, it's fairly well covered on the Geography Now channel. We'll put the link in the description below. Georgia is located right on the central crossroad of the Europe-Asia-Africa supercontinent, and this is the reason it has been facing unique challenges for at least 3,500 years of its existence. Let me show you something. This is Tamarsheni, Achabeti, Korta, and there are many more villages like these in this part of Georgia. These satellite images have been taken in 2007. White people call themselves Caucasian, and not many of them know that this is because white people come from the Caucasus Mountains. These are the very Caucasus Mountains. Georgia is a Christian country on the very edge of Europe, and most of the people here, in these villages too, can track their ancestry for hundreds of years back. And most of the families have been living on the very same spot for ages, sometimes for thousands of years. Now let me show Tamarsheni in 2009. All these villages were occupied by Russia in 2008, not by some proxy war like the one going on in the Ukraine, but by the actual Russian military. Some of the civilians were killed by the Russians, while others fled their homes to escape. These homes were then deliberately set on fire by the Russians. Note that all of the houses were burnt down. Thousands and thousands of homes burned to the ground in dozens of villages, and then bulldozed to free space for Russian bases and officer settlements. Here is Kurta. This systematic burning of homes was done so that refugees, who now live in temporary settlements, have nowhere to go back to. This is beyond fascism. Even Hitler himself didn't do things like these. Russians came here and they've just eradicated people from their homes and lands. This is not even an occupation, because they've not left anyone alive to occupy. This is genocide combined with annihilation of the remains of people who used to live there. To be clear, this is actual Darth Vader Empire of Death you are facing in real life, as it consumes a small but strategically important planet in the very center of the galaxy. Russia has built more than 15 military bases since 2008 in this region, bringing in at least 10,000 military troops, lots of tanks and armored vehicles, and where those bases are located on the border show this is an offensive operation and not merely a defensive tactic. They're not even hiding this. Russians say they are expanding their empire on its conquest to revive the USSR. Georgians care about nightmares that happen in Syria, but in fact, they have an even worse situation. They are facing an enemy no country on this planet would want to face, and they are left alone against it. Around 400,000 people have been kicked out from their homes, yes, in Europe in the 21st century, from these two regions, with their homes sold or taken down, and this act of enormous genocide is happening right in front of your eyes in the age of social media. 400,000 is even more significant number for Georgia because it's 1/10 of their full population. Georgia needs urgent help in this age when ordinary people have a huge influence on their governments and when people can really change things and make things happen. They need you to open your eyes, raise awareness, and help them. The conflict in Ukraine is a direct consequence of what happened in Georgia 25 years ago. Nobody paid attention to this very unfair and unjust proxy war supported by Russia. So 10 years ago, in 2008, when things seemed finally to be going well, Russia knew it was now or never, so they occupied Georgia openly and conducted this unmatched genocide of the Georgian people. If you don't help Georgia now, they will be conquered by them. There are a lot of spies and KGB operatives doing all they can to ensure this with minimal losses from their side. And you know how much KGB can do since they were able to shake countries like the United States and France recently. Georgia doesn't stand a chance alone. Russia also has been using so-called crawling occupation in recent years. They move the borderline a few hundred meters every month or two, and nobody on the planet cares for a few more meters. But right now, it has gotten to the point where the next 100 meters will consume the Georgian main highway, and thus it will split the country in nearly half. When Georgia is occupied, Armenia will join Russia, Azerbaijan will have no other choice but to be dragged in with Russia and Armenia, and then Russia will gain direct access to Iran and Syria. This will make them significantly stronger and will let them really rebuild the USSR. Iran will get their nuclear program running again, and Russia will get back on its feet by finally helping out Assad's regime and gaining control over its oil supplies. No single country could face Russia alone. Not even Great Britain or France would be willing to be left alone against it. And Georgia is much smaller and much weaker than those. They need your support. For example, everyone understands, even though they are trying a lot, they will not be able to join NATO unless their disputes with Russia are solved. But here's the dilemma. It will not be solved unless they join NATO. Georgia will never bring enough direct military benefit to NATO to be worthwhile to be taken in, so this decision will have to be political anyway. Georgians are the highest military contributor in Afghanistan per capita. This means they really can't do any more to show their military support to the Western culture. And if the NATO decision will be a political decision anyways, why not make it while there is still a free Georgia left, while we still can save them? NATO was created to face the USSR empire, and right now this is the border, and this is a country facing complete annihilation by that empire of doom. Please spread the word and help Georgia, facing actual genocide in the 21st century.